Give me a minute and we'll talk about what's going on behind closed doors at the Kyiv Scientific Research Institute of Forensic Expertise. There, military experts, weapons experts are investigating the detritus of Russian missiles and drones to determine where the components in them are being manufactured. Now, the Russians have tried to obfuscate this by erasing serial numbers, erasing manufacturing marks, scratching out that kind of information. But according to the experts at the Institute, there's just too much. There's dozens, if not hundreds, of microchips in some of these components. And those can be torn apart and down to the individual processor. You can get the serial numbers. And with the serial numbers in hand and the manufacturer data known, Kyiv can pass that information on to law enforcement in the countries of manufacture, which, according to a database run by the Kyiv government here, over 30 countries. The components come from over 30 countries. By far, the largest chunk of them come from the United States, with some 3,087 components identified as having been manufactured in the United States. Now, what can they do with that information? Well, they can pass it on to law enforcement in the United States. Now the FBI can take those serial numbers, go to the manufacturer and say, hey, who did you sell these components to? Here's the serial number list. Oh, okay, let's go knock on their door. And so right now, the data is being gathered to track down those people who are involved in sanctions, trying to get around sanctions, in order to funnel these foreign components to weapons manufacturers in Russia. The sanctions, while they're being circumvented, are, of course, increasing the cost to Russia. It's slowing production. It means that Russia cannot produce the way that they have done before. And further, we're now into what are called secondary sanctions. Secondary sanctions say if you do business with a sanctioned person, we can now sanction you. And that's having consequences in the world as well. The UAE was famous for financing Indian oil purchases from Russia. The banks in the UAE won't have anything to do with that anymore. It's too complex to guarantee that they're obeying the price caps. China has just informed its banks to stop doing business with sanctioned Russians because of the fear of being cut out of the American market. And so don't tell me that sanctions aren't working. They're not perfect. There are those that would profit from them for their own unenlightened short-term self-interest. But they're working. And now these forensic specialists are going to put the screws, help us put the screws to the people that are trying to avoid those sanctions for their own profit. This is where we're at.